Now tonight on Homes at 7 o'clock, a crucial ruling in the Judge Martin Beattie case. An investigation before Judge Beattie was even charged left no doubt what should happen to him. The trial judge ruled against the jury seeing the evidence and suppressed it. So only now can we tell you what that evidence was. An exclusive Holmes report tonight at 7 o'clock.
In the Papua New Guinea tsunami disaster zone, another 3,500 people are abandoning their homes tonight because of the contamination caused by rotting bodies. Authorities in Aitape have expanded the no-go zone to include another 5 kilometres of coastline east of the Sisano Lagoon. The ABC's Sean Dorney has more.
A mass being celebrated on one of the beaches hit by the tidal wave. Father Austin Krapp, the man who mobilised the first response to the disaster, is trying to rally his distraught parishioners.
At the moment they're quite traumatised. They're just staring into space and they're not accepting things very much. They just don't know where they are.
The sniffer dogs brought in from South Florida have uncovered 47 bodies around one of the resettlement areas. It's been too much, even for the dogs.
It's kind of unusual to ever have this much cadaver outside of a war situation.
Papua New Guineans are resilient people, and Gary Barkey says the survivors have no intention of becoming permanent refugees.
I went there. When I talk to most of these people, they just tell me, we want access, knives, all these things, so that we can cut down trees, make our own houses, make our own gardens. That's what they want. Food maybe continues for a month or so. After that, I'm sure they'll be able to live on their own.
These are coastal people, but they'll be moving their villages inland.
They're not ready yet to cope with life as it was before.
Aid is still pouring in from outside, and the state of emergency authorities believe that with all the support, they are now on top of the situation.
Sean Dorney reporting there, and Holmes reporter Ian Sinclair is just back from PNG. He has the remarkable story of a family which literally rode out the tsunami in a boat. That's on Holmes at 7 o'clock.
In Austria, persistent rescuers got their ultimate reward today. They found a trapped miner still alive after 10 days underground. He was buried when the magnesium silicate mine collapsed after a mudslide. 10 other miners were trapped when they tried to rescue him. It was thought all the men had perished, but officials have now renewed efforts to reach those still missing.
There's to be a special honour for the 2 United States police officers killed by a lone gunman inside the Capitol in Washington. They'll lie in state in the building's rotunda until their funerals on Wednesday. It's an honour usually reserved for presidents and top politicians. Meanwhile, the alleged gunman who was shot by police may now survive to face 2 murder charges. Doctors say Russell Weston's condition is improving. And today, members of Weston's family broke their silence in the wake of the shootings. CNN's Jeff Flock was among the reporters at the family home in Illinois.
No matter what he's done, he's still my little brother, and I love him.
April Weston Callahan may have been as close to Rusty Weston as anyone. A childhood of memories, good memories. Today, no one is sorrier.
Mrs. Chestnut and the whole family, we're so sorry. We just didn't know that he would ever do anything like this.
But his family did know he was sick. They'd spent half of his life battling their son's mental illness. He was a paranoid schizophrenic. It apparently came to a head last Thursday. He'd been living in this room in his parents' house. He went out to the backyard and began shooting cats. His father had enough. The normal, average son he raised, who had moved to Montana and gradually succumbed to mental illness, had become too much.
And I said, well, Rusty, I said, I'm going to give you 10 days to find another place to live, but you're going to have to leave after 10 days. I said, because I will not put up with that being cruel to animals.
His grandmother, who lives next door and asked Rusty to do something about the cats, feels responsible.
She this morning said that she wished that she had never asked him to have done that.
And well, I wish I had never said what I did.
Yeah,
either.
I mean...
Now their wish is to know why.
It's what I want to know. Why he went there, you know, why he did this.
It is an answer they may never get.
And their son, Russell Weston, is under 24-hour guard at a Washington hospital.
In France, an attempt to recreate aviation history has failed just minutes after takeoff. Pilot Louis Blériot was forced to ditch his monoplane in a lake while trying to reenact the first crossing of the English Channel. Blériot's grandfather made the original crossing 89 years ago. Louis Blériot escaped the ordeal uninjured.
However, many survivors of plane crashes aren't so lucky. Their injuries can be complex. And now an English expert is teaching Kiwi doctors how to treat air crash victims. David Jameson reports.
Imagine dealing with more than 80 badly injured survivors from a fully laden 737 that's crashed onto a motorway. Professor Chris Colton has done just that.
An aircraft's gone down on the motorway just by Nottingham, and we're talking about severe chest injuries, we're talking about some severe head injuries, but largely we're talking about severe injuries of the limbs, multiple fractures of the limbs, the pelvis and the spine.
Legs and arms often get broken in plane crashes as people on board get thrown around at terrific force. And 15 to 40% of people die in survivable crashes because they can't escape fire due to limb injuries.
The brace position that was publicised at that time, and indeed is still recommended on many airlines of the world, contributes actually to injuries of the limbs.
Professor Colton's work convinced airlines to change the crash position recommended to passengers from this to minimise injuries. Professor Colton's visit is a chance for surgeons here to learn how to treat some of the most seriously injured patients they may ever face. David Jameson, One Network News.
Just ahead, getting creative about life after redundancy.
And musician Dave Dobbin hopes for big things with his new album.
Anything you want, I can supply.
Later, spectator tragedy after an IndyCar crash.
Plus, our top snowboarder changes direction.